supplements is just like the tip of the iceberg of what is actually a comprehensive plan and strategy to improve your performance, improve your health, improve your recovery. You can't out-supplement poor sleep. You can't out-supplement inactivity. You can't out-supplement a poor nutrition strategy. You can't out-supplement discipline. Let me ask you a question. How many supplements do you have sitting in your cupboard right now? Is it 5, 10, 25, 50? Maybe you got an entire cabinet just dedicated to all the stuff you bought off of influencers and Amazon and from something a friend recommended or something you saw on the shelf where you're at the grocery store. Maybe there's something you were trying to treat a symptom with, like low energy or weight loss, brain fog. People are generally looking for easy solutions to their symptoms. And unfortunately, there's a lot of companies interested in selling products to try to solve that problem. And just to let you know, I definitely take supplements. I am a fan of supplements. I am a big fan of getting professional grade supplements that are third-party tested, that are reputable companies that show you what the ingredients actually are and how much are in them and that they are verified, etc. Because there's absolutely supplements out there that can help, particularly if you're using blood work to help dictate your decisions, whether it's with your performance, health, recovery, body composition, longevity, etc. But I've literally had patients that have come to my office with grocery bags full of supplements asking me, hey, which ones are worth taking? Which ones are shitty? Which ones are, can I throw in the garbage? And I'm putting this podcast together today to help save you some time and money, hopefully. What I did is I chose my 5 supplements that you absolutely want to avoid. And most importantly, why you want to avoid these supplements. And it's going to be for reasons of wasting your money, but also potentially damaging your health. So without further ado, we're going to go over 5 supplements that might shock you to hear that are not a wise investment of your money or time. So number 1, cheap rancid fish oil. I can't tell you how many patients I've done labs with that, first of all, are omega-3 fatty acid deficient. Number 2, that are omega fatty acid deficient that are taking fish oil, and they're taking fish oil from places like Costco and drugstores and supermarkets, and they're just getting it from like the cheapest place possible. And this is a very bad move. So don't freak out. Okay. You're probably not doing a ton of harm if you've, been taking it for a short period of time or on occasion, but what I'm here to tell you is there's a massive difference between high quality fish oil and poor quality fish oil. And I always like to tell people that my litmus test is like, take one of those capsules and bite into it. And if it tastes rancid and disgusting, then you absolutely should not be consuming it. Fish oil is one of those supplements where the quality matters tremendously because omega-3 fatty acids are extremely fragile. And what a lot of people don't realize is the oil in those capsules, it's not just omega-3 oils. You have a variety of omega-6, omega-3, and omega-9 oils. And here's the thing is like heat damages them very easily. Oxygen damages them easily. Light damages them easily. And time can damage them easily. So if you think about, for example, like a piece of fish sitting on your counter for a week, right? Nobody would eat that shit because everyone understands that food spoils, right? Now, we assume that oil, if it's in a bottle in a capsule, it won't spoil, but it's not true. Many fish oil products, they sit in warehouses, trucks, they get shipped and they're stored on shelves for weeks before they ever reach your grocery bag and your counter and eventually in your body. And a lot of these oils, if you're getting them from, cheap resources, can be totally rancid. And it's interesting because the exact thing most people are buying fish oil for, which is to help, reduce inflammation in their body. Now you might be actually causing some inflammation in the body. And this is the controversy with fish oil you'll read about. Research has found that some commercially available fish oil products actually exceed the recommended oxidation limits. And it doesn't mean that every fish oil product's bad. It just means that the quality control's poor, and quality matters, right? I hear a lot of people that complain about fish burps too when they take fish oil. And this is sometimes your body just telling you that this oil is no bueno, right? So a lot of times I'll hear see these brands from grocery stores and these giant bottles that were on sale, and it's typically very cringy because wow, I know already that that fish oil is probably rancid. It's probably very not very good for you, and it is one that you want to invest in premium quality. So if you're going to take fish oil, here's the thing: is you want to make sure that it is third party tested, that the bottle is dark, and that there's antioxidants put in at bottling, and it is sourced from small fish, right? Anchovy, sardine, these small fish, so they don't bioaccumulate heavy metals. Otherwise, you might be swallowing spoiled rancid fat. Okay, and the litmus test I always tell people is like bite into the capsule. If it tastes like fresh oil, lemony kind of stuff, it's probably okay. If it tastes rancid and makes you want to throw up on yourself, throw it out. I'm not going to pump the tires of any brand specifically, but find reputable brands that are high quality that meet these criteria. All right, let's talk about number two. Number two is testosterone boosters. So if there's like a hall of fame for supplement scams, testosterone boosters would be like at the top of the food chain here, because it's hysterical. Some of these bottles you see like in vitamin shops and GNCs, like there's usually like shredded ripped dudes, holding battle axes, ready for war, wrestling a bear. Take 2 capsules, you'll immediately turn into a Viking. Here's the thing is you look at the back of these bottles and the ingredients usually include some combination of like tribulus, fenugreek, horny goat weed, aspartic acid, like badger testicle. I don't know. So here's the thing, like, listen, there are some ingredients that might have mild effects, okay? Improving libido, sexual function, subjective feelings of well-being. But when we're talking about specifically showing measurable randomized controlled trials that are showing measurable effects on testosterone, there's literally nothing out there. There's no evidence. And I see this all the time, guys that are taking testosterone boosters to try to help themselves out. And it's not working. They still have, poor recovery, low energy, decreased libido, brain fog, lack of motivation, can't build muscle, and, taking a testosterone booster. It's like, dude, how's that working out? Right. The issue is that for most people, their testosterone is lacking, not because of the lack of fenugreek and horny goat weed. Inevitably, the massive problem when it comes to low testosterone is high body fat, insulin resistance, number one, which is perpetuated by things like alcohol, poor sleep, sleep apnea, lack of consistent physical training, resistance training, all that boring stuff that actually helps you maintain and have robust testosterone levels. Nobody wants to hear that shit though. So, right. They don't want to hear they got to lose 20 pounds or sleep 8 hours or get stronger or, eat a protein-based whole food diet. But here's the thing. Don't step over dollars to pick up dimes. Do the work, save your money, and optimize your hormones through lifestyle, not through wasting your hard-earned money with some of these testosterone boosters that are not going to make a lick of difference. All right. Number 3, cheap calcium supplements. I've been talking about these for years, especially with all my old lady patients that all seem to think that I take calcium because I don't want to have a fall, like a fracture from a fall. I want to keep strong bones. I have osteoporosis, so I take calcium supplements. This one surprised a lot of people because it seems to be like one of the number one recommendations is like everyone should take calcium supplements, especially postmenopausal women who have, either osteopenia or osteoporosis. You mentioned aging, people think calcium, right? But here's a question no one asks, like what type of calcium, first of all, because not all calcium supplements are created equal. And I can tell you one of the biggest offenders out there, if you're consuming calcium carbonate, in other words, it's calcium that's from like ground up shells and oysters and bone meal and stuff. That's like bargain bin supplement, cheap, low cost vitamin crap. And it's the least absorbable type of calcium that you could possibly put in your body. Especially as people get older and their stomach acid naturally declines. Where do you think this calcium is going? Okay, what some studies have found is that this excessive calcium consumption that you don't absorb well, it deposits in tissues. Tissues like arteries, tissues like vessels, and uh, soft tissues in all areas of your body, which does not help you. If someone truly needs calcium supplementation, there are calcium supplements like calcium citrate. Preferably not doing them at higher doses. You want to make sure that you're also pairing this with having great stomach acidity. There's different strategies for that. Making sure you're consistently eating protein-based whole food diet. You can take digestive enzymes, apple cider vinegars, obviously having a healthy GI system, right? Eating fermented foods, etc. So calcium, here's the thing. Calcium is like a small piece of the pie when it comes to strong bones, right? Your body doesn't just need calcium. It needs protein. It needs vitamin D to help the calcium absorb, vitamin K2 as well. Magnesium plays a critical role. Hormones play a massive role, like estrogen. It's like, think about calcium like a pile of bricks. The bricks don't build the house. You still need the blueprint, the construction crew, the mortar, all that stuff, right? So bones, you need calcium. Arteries don't need calcium. Soft tissues don't. Kidneys don't. So, you want to make sure you're doing weight-bearing exercise, right? Resistance training. How do you build strong muscles? Well, you stress them out with resistance training. How do you build strong bones? The same way. It's live tissue like your muscle. You need to create resistance and a stressor, okay? Resistance training. You need resistance training. You need proper, a diet that is has proper balance, right? You have protein, but also you're getting calcium from your diet for the most part, and you're also getting some sunshine, some vitamin D production, etc. So that is how you build and maintain strong bones. You don't get it from waiting till you have osteoporosis and then supplementing calcium. Number 4, fat burners. This one might not shock you. I think most people at this point recognize that taking excessive stimulants is not good for your health. It's literally like it was at one point. I think the money has declined after a while, but it was like billions of dollars people were spending on fat burners. But they didn't work quite like advertisements claimed they work, right? And if they did, then people wouldn't be as fat as they are, right? Most fat burners are essentially like stimulant cocktails, right? They have things like green tea and caffeine, yohimbine, all that kind of stuff, like a bunch of ingredients that are designed to make your heart rate go up, sweat more, and feel more energized. And listen, like it definitely does that. But the thing is, if you feel something, I think a lot of people automatically think that it's doing something, it's happening, right? But it's feeling something and having it do what you think it does is not the same thing, right? Fat burners may be a modest effect at best, but long-term fat loss, you don't need fat burners. In fact, you're probably doing more harm than good by, taking stimulants and, really ramping up your heart rate, frying your adrenals, potentially screwing up your sleep. What you need for fat loss, for the most part, calorie deficit, right? Eating sufficient protein to maintain lean tissue, resistance training, daily movement, sleep, and then consistency, right? So that's what you really need for weight loss. No one wants to do the work though. They want the quick, easy fix, fat burner, and now the GLP-1s as well. So, that's a dangerous combo though. If you're not doing the work and you're just taking stimulants and GLPs, okay, that's a recipe for a cardiovascular disaster. And losing not just the fat that you want to lose, but also lean tissue. That's another podcast altogether. So building muscles, really critical, making sure that you're building and maintaining lean tissue. That's what improves your insulin sensitivity, increases your metabolic demand so you can still eat normally and be satiated and feel good and feel full, not have to starve yourself. Right. So most people are looking for like a fat burning supplement when what they really need is, muscle building strategy. Right. And the irony is that most people are just ignoring the thing that would actually help them. And that brings us to number 5. Number 5 would be almost anything that has something called a proprietary blend. I'll pick on pre-workouts, for example, though. I don't mind pre-workouts. I don't take them myself. In a lot of cases, I don't need, a stimulant to get ramped up to strength train, or certainly not to do cardio or hit workouts. I've dabbled in a lot of different performance supplements, and there are ingredients that actually work, like creatine, electrolytes, caffeine, stuff like that can be incredibly effective to get you dialed in and focused. But I can't stand all of these pre-workouts that have what are called proprietary blends. Um, if you look at something that's like, it says a proprietary blend of like 8,500 milligrams of, stuff that we're not going to tell you about what it is. No breakdown, no transparency, just like trust the name that we put on this proprietary blend in this cool looking bottle with great marketing and, influencers or celebrities that are promoting it. So, it doesn't tell you if it tells you the ingredients but not how much, then you don't really know like how much citrulline are you taking, or beta alanine, or caffeine, or creatine. There's no transparency here. Chances are they're just putting a fancy product together with great marketing. And a lot of times they're trying to, like, listen, they're in business, right? They're going to sprinkle tiny amounts of its expensive ingredients and, fill it with other cheaper fillers, to to make the product profitable, right? So the marketing could be great, the label could make it look impressive, but in most cases, the product often isn't. So, a good supplement company does not hide dosages. In fact, best supplement companies, they show off their third-party testing, their ingredients, so they say, hey, this is what we say is in our stuff. This is what third-party testing is showing that's in our stuff. So we are transparent. This is what we're giving to the public, and we stand by our integrity and what we're saying we're giving to people. So at the end of the day, like most people, I put this podcast together because I think there's a lot of supplements that people take that they're wasting their time and money and energy in. Some of them that they might even be doing more harm than good. But at the end of the day, most people don't have supplement problems. They have fundamental problems. And I feel like I try to weave this into almost all of my talks and podcasts, etc. In many cases, we're trying to major in the minors. In other words, like supplements is just like the tip of the iceberg of what is actually a comprehensive plan and strategy to improve your performance, improve your health, improve your recovery. Because you can't out supplement poor sleep. You can't out supplement inactivity. You can't out supplement a poor nutrition strategy. You can't out supplement discipline, period. Right. And the supplement company, for the most part, the knock on it, it's mostly unregulated. And there's a lot of companies out there to grab your money. And what I can tell you is that the companies that I trust are few and far between. And they're all companies that are, practitioner grade supplements that really stand on their quality and their adherence to third party testing. And they stand on their reputation, because at the end of the day, that's all they've got, right? And the supplements, they do what they are designed to do. We do pre and post labs to make sure of it. Things like omega-3 fatty acids, for example, you can, have measurable change by taking fish oil. Same thing with taking like a methylated B vitamin to improve your B12 status, lower your homocysteine levels, improve your vitamin D, for example, which vitamin D could be like my sixth one on here, truly. I take vitamin D in the winter months with vitamin K, and I make sure that it's not I don't lean into it as my sole source of trying to get vitamin D. Of course, primarily you want to get it from sunshine, but there's a lot of people out there taking, synthetic high dose vitamin D, and that could be more harmful than good in a lot of cases. There are people that I do labs with that are like way over the recommended, 50 to 80, I believe it's nanogram per deciliter. So honorable mention for vitamin D, even though I do take it. But you want to make sure that you're on, you're measuring your vitamin D levels to make sure that your dosing is intelligent, that you're not overdosing yourself, and also you're not deficient, right? So, that wraps up my supplement episode for today, the 5 that you want to try to avoid. I've done other episodes with my top 10 favorites. You might want to look back and check one of those out. I'm always here to answer any questions. If anybody ever wants to shoot me a message, Dr. Ryan at theweaponizedbody.com. I appreciate you listening. As always, strong body, strong mind, strong life. See you on the next episode.